Good morning. These are SBAC pages 5 and 6 for you to review. First problem, go ahead and unpack it. I've underlined some of the key terms and then we'll go through it together. So what we're looking for is we're looking for patterns between the sequence of events. If you look, you have 5 to 10, 5 to 20, and 10 to 40. So you are looking for a times 4 pattern. So if you're looking for the last term in the sequence, it would be 4 times 25, which would be 100. And the rule would be times 4. Alright, move on to the next problem. Same type of problem. Again, we're looking for a pattern between the top row and bottom row. If you look here, you can do it two ways. I drew the equation 6 times some number of money equals the total earned. What you can also use the inverse operation by dividing it by 9. So I took this number divided by 9 to get 6, so I saw the pattern that way. It's a divide 9 pattern going this way, or a times 9 pattern going that way. So if you look at this, it'd be 36 times 9. Did that over there to get 324 as my answer, so that's my answer. Going on to page 6, problem number 1. You're just looking for a pattern. In this case, you can do it visually. You can see that I've identified the change there, call it the delta there and delta there. But if you look at a numerical pattern, it is a +2 pattern, 3, 5, 7, 9. So the next term would be 11. So it's a +2 pattern vertically, one on top, one on the bottom, and the total is 11. For this problem here, layaway means you're paying it over time. So in this case, they give us 34 weeks. So my expression or equation will be weeks times 34 will equal 272. Remember, if you have too much money, you have to round up because he needs to pay the full amount of 272. So to do this, I create a table. You can see these are my weeks on top here, and these are the amount of money I've paid total. You can see the change to chomp it up is plus 34. So if I chomp, 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 it looks like in 8 weeks I get 272. Same problem here, looking for a change or delta. It's pretty easy to see that the change is on the side and on the top for each figure, but the number pattern is easier. You see that it's also a +2 pattern, so there would be 13 squares on the last one, and I've drawn a really great picture for you. Page 8 and 9. This is a little bit tougher because you have to understand the language. What they're asking you is 1A is 1/10 of 17, 170. So you think about 1/10 of 17 is going to be smaller than 17, so no, it's not going to be 170. 10 times as much as 6,000 is the same as 600 times 10. 10 times as much as 600, so it'd be 6,000, and that's not 6,000. 1/10 of 900 is the same as 1/10 of 9,000 is the same as dividing 9,000 by 10, and that does give you 900, so that is a yes. And 10 times as much as 440. You can see here I've done 440 times 10, and that does give you 4,400, so that's also a yes. And problem number 2, when you unpack it, you see that she has 10 times as many coins now as she did last month. So that means she has more coins now than last month. So I do the inverse operation. I divide 140 by 10, or I take last month times 10 equals 140. So I divide 140 by 10, and the last month would be 14. I check my work, saying 14 times 10, does that equal 140? Yes, it does, so I am correct. This problem is pretty simple. You're just matching the digits on top, place value to the equation. You see in part A, 7 times 100,000 is 700,000. That's correct, but 5 times 1,000 is 5,000, not 500. So that answer doesn't work. 700,000 is correct, 562 is correct, so that works. In this problem here, 700,000 plus 500 plus 60 plus 2, that does equal that number. They're just using expanded notation, so that works. In the last one, you have 700,000, but you have 5 hundreds, which works, but you have 62 tens. And 62 tens is the same as 620. So because of that, that answer doesn't work, and we cross it out. Problem number 4, it's basically just using that decimal and find the place value. Now this is a hundredths chart, so each one of these is equal to 1/100th of a whole, and you can see I have 5 tenths. So for the 5 tenths, I have highlighted 50 hundredths or 5 tenths, and then I have 4 hundredths, so that's my 4 hundredths right there. Now this little hundredth, they blew it out to make it thousandths, so that's thousandths, and you need 2 thousandths, so that would be my 2 thousandths. So the picture all colored would be this space here, and then 2 little tiny pieces of that square. Same problem as before, you're just matching the number to the way they write it. This one is correct here, this is correct here, this is correct here, this is correct here. So that number should be correct. A should be correct. B, you have 50,897, that should also be correct. C is 5,000, so that's 50,000, so that's not correct. And D is 50,897, so that should be correct. So from these ones, looks like we have 3 answers. A, B, and D are correct. Looking at that, this next problem, number 6, you're looking for a number that is 10 times as much. This number is 10 times as much as this number, so this number here is smaller. Now if you remember, when you multiply a number by 10, you move the decimal place 1 space to the right. So if I move this decimal 1 place to the right, I get 0.84. So that would be a number that is 10 times as small as that number. In this, on the other side over here, you're saying 1/10 of some number will equal that. So I'm dividing by 10 or moving my decimal place 1 space to the left. So a number that is 1/10 of that would be 1/10 of 8.4 would equal that. Same problem here as we did before. I'm doing 6 tenths, 7 hundredths, and 4 thousandths. Here is my 6 tenths, here is my 7 hundredths, and here is my 4 thousandths. This one is the same as we did before, it's just a practice exercise. So what number 10 times as much as this number will equal this? Because if I have 0.09 and I multiply it by 10, I move that decimal place 1 space to the right, and I get 0.92, which matches that. 1/10 of this number here is 9.2, and I move it 1 space to the left, making it 10 times smaller, and I get 0.92. So 9.2 or 9 2/10 is 1/10 of 9 2/10 is 92 hundredths, and 92 thousandths times 10 will equal 92 hundredths. And that is the end of the lesson. Hope you had a great time with this and you drew models. Remember, draw models, make equations, then do the algorithm, then have the meal, and then you are full. Yum. I love math.